Trade season is heating up in the NFL. Should the Chiefs be in on it? Yes, they should. We'll tell you more about that. But the first pin has dropped. We're going to get all into where the Chiefs are as they get into the bye week today on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for making us your first listen here on Locked On Chiefs, part of Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day on every platform for free. We have a lot going on. Thanks for checking us out, but make sure you grab another show, especially one that might have a ball game this weekend. Check the draft show as well. We got a lot going on, and we are building up a little bit ahead of time from where we were last season, our first year taking over that show. So you might enjoy that this week. Take a look at some of the prospects that could end up in red and gold. But there's a number of things going on. One of the shoes has fallen, has dropped. Will the next one? That's what we'll get into next. I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting, as well as NFLto.com and RGR Football.
And I'm Chris Clark. Thank you all for listening, and go hit the like, sub, and bell so you get notified when a new YouTube comes up, and subscribe on iTunes. And
I had one of those ones.
You have iChannel? Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
It's a little old. It is what it is.
A little bit. iTunes, Spotify, all those fun things out there.
Folks, we're brought to you by PrizePicks. Check them out. It is the easiest way to play daily fantasy sports. Use our code LOCKEDON to get a 100% deposit bonus over at PrizePicks.com. Big news is that it's starting to loosen up. It's coming. I know we have till the 1st of November. Yes, is that the correct date?
Yep.
But
it's Tuesday, next Tuesday.
Chiefs' old pal Ryan Poles pulled the trigger on a trade and got Robert Quinn out of Chicago. He's heading to Philadelphia in what was one of the probably bigger names in terms of trade value at the edge position. They ended up, at least according to current reports, they're still going to pay 7.1 of his salary. So they had to pay them to give him away. And that's, I think, maybe indicative of where he is as a player. I know a lot of Chiefs fans wanted them to go after him. Looking at this makes me feel like maybe the Chiefs just weren't interested.
Could be. You look at what they gave up for him. The Eagles gave him a 4th-round pick. And what is he, 32 years old, I think?
Mm-hmm.
So he's up there, and he hasn't had a great season. He's beloved in Chicago, and they were talking to the media. I think Roquan Smith was actually talking to the media when the news broke, and he actually broke down in tears because it's his buddy and is one of his team captains that's being traded away. So obviously beloved in the locker room there. But to me, he hasn't had the production this year. He had a great year last year. He hasn't been as productive this year. So the question is he going to really be a big step up? And they are still going to end up owing him some money. Obviously, it's not as much, but they are going to still owe some money.
Well, and that's kind of my point why I'm saying maybe they just weren't interested, because even with the 7.1, he's still going to cost $6 million on their cap.
Yep.
To the Eagles, that is. So that would be the same situation the Chiefs would be in. And again, it's just about the cap numbers that the Chiefs have. Right now, it's at 3.5 and change. Looks like with the Frank suspension, they're going to get about $450K back. So you're looking at just under $4 million as their cap space. That's the absolute maximum. And you got to keep at least $177. It's like in a bylaw now.
Yeah. I love watching you do math. It's great.
Can you see the smoke coming out my ears?
Yes.
It happens.
So the question that this begs, though, for Kansas City is, what does it do for the trade market for the rest of the other players in the NFL? And are they going to be looking? There was another trade. The Jets traded for James Robinson. Doesn't really affect Kansas City at all. I don't think that they're going to be looking at moving for a running back or trading one of the running backs, even though you question why Ronald Jones is still here.
And don't worry, folks. I'm not going to get into my whole why in the world would you ever trade for a running back montage. We'll do that at another time in the offseason. But lo and behold, 2 running backs have changed. I think they grossly overpaid in San Francisco for what they got. McCaffrey averaging 6 games a season the last 3 years, something like that. Yep. I think it's crazy. I think the Chiefs in a trade, in season, any trade, they have to get the upside of value is what they have to feel like. And I think that's why they haven't done anything yet. Now, there's still other names out there. The big 3 seem to be, it was Quinn, Josh Allen, Montez Sweat. And who's the big name for you that should be talked about as a potential target?
Well, I think there's another name that we're not going to mention because there's no way you could come to Kansas City. Bradley Chubb is out there as well. There's a lot of talk about him being available for a trade, especially if they lose to the Jaguars. But I understand why you're not bringing him up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's not going to happen.
I know George Payton's only been there a hot minute, but he still understands trading intra-division is just redonkulous. Doesn't happen. It shouldn't happen. It's just kind of crazy.
Yeah, and we've talked about the guy that would be number one would be Brian Burns. Yeah. Our buddy Seth Kaiser is talking about going and maybe trading for, Jerry Hughes.
Yeah.
A little bit older option. I don't think that's nearly as valuable. But Brian Burns isn't going to be cheap when it comes to contract. He will be cheap, but he's not going to be cheap next year because his contract is for $16 million next year as a rookie, and I believe that's guaranteed. So, if you're trading for that contract, you're going to have him here for another year. So it's a little bit better than a 1-year rental, but it'll be
Hughes would definitely be the Chiefs style of 1-year fading veteran kind of thing. I don't
like a Melvin Ingram type.
Right, exactly. And I can see doing that if it's a signing, if it's just the dollars that you're forking over, because then you're setting the market. You're deciding what you're going to pay. When it comes to this draft capital that is always involved in a trade, you still don't know exactly what that's going to be. So where that pick's going to fall, that is even more of a conundrum. Like, I just can't see doing that for a vet type. I would have to let him get to free agency and then see what happens. That is probably where I'm at.
Fair enough. But obviously that's not going to help you in season. So
true.
I don't know. I think that Kansas City could make a move. I would love to see them make a move to try to upgrade at several different positions. I think that the most likely that would make the most sense for them would be defensive ends. And the main reason I say that is because you trade away you're going to be trading away a first round pick if you're going to go get a guy like Brian Burns. It's going to happen. Yeah. But what you get back is somebody that I think you could probably build this team around along with Karlaftis and have your DN set at least the starters for a couple of years.
Yeah. And that's the appealing part to me too. Then you can spend calculated picks on day 3 in the draft, just like you do with cornerbacks now, in trying to get those developmental edges that might hit. And I think that's a really productive way to go about it. So,
well, and to take that a step further, you're also probably going to be trading away a pick that's going to be in the the higher 20s or maybe 30s.
Absolutely. And that's what it comes down to is above all, you have to have the fit. And if you guys want to have the fit, our friends from Birddogs are going to help you get there because they are super comfortable, easy to wear. And it doesn't matter whether you're looking for like a khaki style pant or an actual sweatpant or a nice pair of shorts. They have it all for you, and it's super comfortable. It doesn't matter whether you're like looking for like high-end Lululemon kind of stuff, like I'm always telling my kids they can't have, or if you're just trying to get something that looks good. The bottom line is they are comfortable, and it doesn't matter whether it's the depth of winter and it's 10 degrees out, if you're in the upper Midwest possibly, or wherever you're listening, or if it's 7 degrees and you're in Florida, you're going to be comfortable either way. They have these great liners for the winter side, and I don't use those because I happen to be somebody who runs pretty hot. So I don't need that. But it's a nice throw-in that you can get on any pair that they have. Go check out birddogs.com. Use our promo code LOCKEDON, and they'll throw in a free Birddogs rope hat. You can see that down there. That always helps, and a little bit of free goes a long way, right? That hat is also just as comfortable if you use our code Locked On, the most comfortable shorts, pants, and sweats now with built-in liners. Don't take these things off. I promise you, you will like them. Now, the other thing that you're going to have to do eventually is you're just going to have to take and bite the bullet. The original online jeweler, Blue Nile, is going to take care of you, whether you have questions about a celebration of a milestone, a big anniversary or, something special, graduation kind of present. They're going to have you covered independently in graded diamonds and pieces that are priced significantly below traditional retailers. They help millions of couples get their perfect engagement ring. They help kids get one-of-a-kind things for, say, your spouse, special anniversary. I have one of those coming up. I'm going to have to look at this very, very closely. You can shop stress-free at Blue Nile's 100% satisfaction guarantee, and all Blue Nile orders are insured and shipped for discreet packaging, so you won't give away the secret. That's important. They also overnight shipping if you're in a rush, like I generally am. Make your moment sparkle with Blue Nile. Go to BlueNile.com and use the code LOCKEDON. You save $50 on your purchase of a $500 piece or more right now. That's Blue Nile, BlueNile.com. And use the code LOCKEDON for $50 off a $500 purchase at BlueNile.com/LockedOn. Okay. So trades aside, where do we go next in terms of taking stock right now?
Well, I think taking stock, you look at the record, and I think you have to feel pretty good. Do you expect that they lose the game that they lost against the Colts? No, but they're still 5-2. They're in a situation where they control their own destiny for the most part. The Bills are going to have to stumble, and they're going to have to stumble bad for the Chiefs to have a chance to host another AFC Championship game. Yeah. And maybe it's not until the postseason, and Kansas City can still host. I don't know, but at this point, you have to feel really good about the fact that they are 2-0 in the division, and you're set up to be able to play the Broncos in the next couple of weeks a couple of times, and probably go to 4-0 in the division with the way that team's playing right now and the way Russell Wilson's playing.
Well, and let's be real. In terms of the Bills, you have to win out and they have to lose too.
Yep.
That's a pretty tall order the way they're playing right now, I have to say. Like, I'm confident in the Chiefs' end of that bargain. I'm not so confident in the Bills. But that's looking forward. Looking back at where we are. I had them at 5-2 at the break. Did you?
Yeah, I think I thought that they would probably lose to the Chargers and the Bills.
Okay. See, and I had it Bucks and Bills because I just wasn't sure if they were going to be able to exercise those demons. And quite frankly, I didn't know the Bucks were going to be this bad.
Well, and I think the thing with me with the Chargers was Kansas City lost last year, and I just kind of figured, the Chargers have gotten a lot better. It looked like they were going to be healthier, and we were doing all this before we knew about all the injuries that the Chargers have had, which they've had several that will affect them going forward. And Mike Williams, it sounds, is going to be out for the next Chiefs game against the Chargers. That's something we'll talk about later, but they lost J.C. Jackson. They're injury prone, like always.
I mean, and it's season enders for them too. It's not like everybody's beat up. We're 7 weeks into the NFL season. Everybody's got injuries, but it doesn't seem to be the same. Hey, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, maybe a trip to IR and back for most teams. That just doesn't seem to be what happens to the Chargers. And that's the way that it goes. Now, I thought they were going to be the second best team in this division at this point, and they clearly are not. You would still give that to the Raiders right now, wouldn't you?
Wow, man, I don't know.
Well, they ain't better than the Broncos, that's for sure.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I think the second worst team in the division I would give to the Broncos. Or sorry, to the Raiders. I apologize.
Okay, so you think they're second worst. Sorry, I said that wrong. I meant that they're not
that's why you confused me. I was
Broncos are at the bottom.
Yeah, that's why you confused me a bit. I was like, wait a second.
So you think head-to-head today the Chargers beat the Raiders?
Yes. I still think Justin Herbert is insanely better.
Oh, he is.
Than Derek Carr. I apologize. And I think that the Raiders can get better, but they still have so many issues on defense that I think they're going to struggle for a while.
Yeah, and that's fair.
Now the question with the Chargers is, can they stay healthy enough to be able to compete against the Raiders? That's a big question, and I don't know that I have a great answer on that.
That's where it gets interesting. And when you take a look at what the Chiefs have left to do, what stands out to you right now as the hurdles? Because we're going to adjust. Obviously, we didn't see the Indy thing coming, so we're adjusting there a little bit. But now they have the backside, and it's not just 9 games. It's a full 10-game slate after the bye. They've had earlier buys in recent years, and I dig that. But it is what it is, and you have to play this now. How do you think that this fits into their second-half schedule?
Well, I will say that you look at their second half schedule, and just really quickly, it's Titans, Jags, Chargers, Rams, Bengals, Broncos, Texans, Seahawks, Broncos, Raiders. That is, I will say, I did not think that the schedule is going to be. I think that you can easily see another 7-8 wins on this schedule. in my opinion, and maybe even more if the ball bounces right. You look at the Titans game, I think that one is a winnable game for Kansas City, and the Jaguars game obviously is winnable. Those are the next two games without Frank Clark.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad that it's only a 2-game suspension, not more, because I don't think the Rams are a great team, but they're good enough to where you'd want Frank Clark back to play and try to go after Stafford. So
Agreed.
To me, I think that's a big thing going in their direction. And then they play the Chargers before they play the Rams. So I think Kansas City will be in good shape for the second half of the season. And really, if you look at their injuries, they should be getting people back. Lucas Niang could be a guy that's coming back, and that could be a huge boon to the offense if he's able to step in and play at even a above average level at times.
Holy cross my fingers, Batman. I can only hope so. I mean, if that were to happen, they're in much better pace for the middle of what this second half looks like. Because, like you said, some games you feel you can win, right? They play at 6:20. It's Sunday Night Football against the Titans, so we have to wait just a little bit extra too, right? And then they are all primetime or national games, either in the afternoon or in primetime, except for Jacksonville, for until week 15. And this is where it gets really interesting because the schedule makers thought that this was going to be a cake month for the Chiefs here most of December and into January. So they gave Houston, Seattle, and Denver all 11 a.m. starts. I'm sorry, 10 a.m. or 10 a.m. Pacific. And as it works out, I don't think it's going to stay there. So I think clearly for me, the Chargers are not healthy enough to battle. Like you said, maybe the Rams can do something. It is the Bengals that are the biggest threat on this post-bye schedule for me. But sneakily, it's that in Kansas City, it's that noon start against Seattle the day before Christmas that I think is going to get flexed the way that the Seahawks are playing.
And I'm glad you said that because that's actually the game I was looking at. As I'm sitting here looking at the second half of the schedule, I was like, of all the games, it could be a questionable situation for Kansas City, whether or not they should be able to win that game. That is the other one, other than the Bengals. I do think the Chiefs are a better team than the Chargers and the Rams. I don't think there's any question in that regard. With the rest of them, it's whether or not they play down to the competition. And that's been their Achilles heel at times.
Well, and let me just say this for all of you NFL schedule makers out there. Moving the Chiefs game from Christmas Eve to, say, the day after Christmas would be beautiful. If you all could just take care of that, we'd really appreciate it.
There you go. That would be nice. I cannot argue with you on that at all. And when we get back from break, we do need to talk about these rookies because there is a lot to talk about in their progression and how they have looked so far this season. But I need to tell you about our friends over at SimpliSafe. Here's a sports analogy for you. When it comes to burglars, your home is like the end zone, and you need the absolute strongest defense you can muster. That is why I use and trust SimpliSafe Home Security. At SimpliSafe, your safety is the only thing that matters. It's cutting-edge technology powered by 24/7 professional monitoring agents who always have your back, so you know your home is safe. With 24/7 professional monitoring, SimpliSafe agents call you the moment the threat is detected and dispatch police or first responders in case of an emergency, even if you're not home or can't be reached. SimpliSafe blankets your home in protection with advanced sensors for every room, window, and door, HD security cameras for inside and outside your home, smarter ways to detect motion that only alerts you when a threat is real, and even hazard sensors that instantly detect fires, floods, and other threats to your home. Our monitoring experts use proprietary advanced response technology to visually confirm when a break-in is real so you can get the highest priority police dispatch. Customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes at simplisafe.com/lockedonnfl. Save 20% on your SimpliSafe security system when you sign up for an interactive monitoring plan and get your first month free. Visit simplisafe.com/lockedonnfl to learn more. There's no safe like SimpliSafe.
I would like to feel safe that everything's going to be all right. They're going to get these players back and they're being able to go on a roll is what I would like to feel safe about. Going forward, what's the next thing that has to happen?
You know, you look at this, you look at getting these rookies going and continue going during the season. And the big question that you have to ask is, to me at least, the biggest question mark is still going to be McDuffie. And obviously, he played a very good game week 1 before he got injured. So there's a lot to be positive about and to be bullish on. But the problem is he went out with an injury very quickly in the season, and I think he would have rust coming back. That's just probably going to be a part of it. But then you're also looking at a scenario of, okay, well, I'm not calling him injury prone, but is he going to stay healthy? 1, and 2, is his play going to continue to get better, or is he going to maybe kind of stagnate from where he was week 1 because he's missed so much time?
That's the tough part. And McDuffie, I have confidence in him pretty thoroughly, to tell you the truth.
Right.
But I need to see him back on the field, though, because
Yep.
he's played 21 snaps. And while that's great, you need to have those. I'm sorry, I lied. It's 32, 21 in coverage. That was my point. It is low. If you had to guess, who's the rookie that's contributed the most snaps to this roster so far?
Are we talking defense and special teams?
Sure. Total snaps played.
Jalen Watson.
Well, it's like you were looking it up. See,
I wasn't looking it up.
I thought I was going to have you there. So, okay.
No.
Yes, 381 snaps from Jalen Watson, a 7th-round pick. Who's right behind him by 30 snaps? George Karlaftis, that you spent a top 30 pick on. I find that incongruity just amazing, and that just goes to show that you have to make selections all the way through the draft in order to build up a roster in this case. But those two guys being the leaders, I think that's fine. It's at a position that clearly you're replacing one rookie with another. I would think that Trent McDuffie would have been in that area, if not higher than Watson, because when I look at Sneed's played 472 to this point, second behind only Juan Thornhill, who's played the most snaps for the Chiefs. It's a 1-for-1. There's just a little bit of drop off there. I would think that McDuffie would have, without the injury, been in that 400-plus category.
I agree. And I think that he is, and then you feel really good about it because at that point you have both your first-round picks playing a lot of snaps and both playing pretty well. I still think that Karlaftis is going to get better in the second half of the season than he was in the first. I think that you are seeing times when he gets pressure on the QB where he is just a half step late, and it's adjusting to the game, it's adjusting to the speed, and it's adjusting to the power of the players that he's going against, and that's a big key. And you also have to remember, Kansas City isn't putting him in an edge rush position all the time. True. He's been there predominantly, but they also use him at defensive tackle at times and split Chris Jones out, where he has been just a monster. And that plays into how successful Karlaftis is going to be.
I agree with you completely. For the record, folks, Sky Moore's played a total of 125 snaps. So the progress continues, but it is slow. Beyond the guys that we've talked about, it is Brian Cook edging out Leo Chanel in total snaps to this point. On defense, he's got him by about 25. So they're getting significant snaps. So it's 100 from every rookie, but Kennard, I believe. No, not every rookie. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At least 6 rookies have given you 100 snaps. And that's a pretty high bar right now for the rookie class to continue to contribute. Now, we saw a lot from the previous class, but through 7 games, it's a pretty good average. I expect that to continue. You're going to get more from McDuffie. I don't think that takes away from Watson, but it might take away some from Joshua. That's okay. But do you think now at the break that when they come back after a week off, a little bit of rest, a lot of film work, and time to just relax and watch, do you think that we see a turnaround? Do you think that we see that rookie class surge a little bit more in terms of the volume that they're playing?
I don't know that you're going to see a huge volume difference. And I say that because you're also probably going to get Fitton back after the bye. How does that affect Jalen Watson's snaps? Is Fitton going to step in there and be your third corner? And if he does, then you're trading McDuffie basically for Watson. And at that point, you're just in a scenario where you're not going to have a lot of additional snaps for rookies. And the other problem is you have a guy in Chanel that's not going to play in most snaps because he is what he is right now, and he's not ready for that full-time role. So I don't think you're going to see a huge surge. The only place that I could see a possible surge is if they continue to let Watson play and Fenton becomes corner number 4.
Mm-hmm.
I don't expect that to happen, but maybe they really like what they've seen from Watson and they want to let him continue to grow. I don't know. We'll see. The other issue that you could actually see where a big surge could happen is Sky Moore getting more snaps at wide receiver. But there are obviously issues that he is having to address to be able to play and be successful in this offense, because there's a lot of talk about him being in the wrong position on that interception by Patrick Mahomes early in the game. And you start looking at those types of scenarios, and that takes you back to scenarios where if he does it early in the game, you don't come back to him or you may not come back to him at all during the game. And then he's not getting snaps, he's not getting touches, and he's not being effective because he lost confidence. You lost confidence in him early in the game, and that's a problem.
Yeah, and that's something that they have to build. That's one of my expectations. Tomorrow, folks, we're going to go through our expectations, not just for the rookie class, but for the second half of this season, blow by blow, team by team, pick by pick, et cetera, et cetera. So make sure that you're here. Make sure you're subbed over on the YouTube channel. Sky's just one of the aspects that I really want to buckle down on and see what comes of it. So we appreciate your time. Let us know what you think about this rookie class so far in the snap counts. Put your comments in the YouTube comments, as well as the Spotify and Apple reviews. We would appreciate it. We'll be back with you tomorrow as we get ready for an NFL weekend that lets the Chiefs get right physically so they can make a push in the second half. Thanks for listening to us today. We'll talk to you tomorrow.